Towers coverage of Origins 2018. I'm Eric Summerer here with Alex from Gray Fox Games. Howdy.
Howdy, how are you, Eric?
I'm doing great. We have 4 titles from Gray Fox to talk about. We're going to begin with, I guess, the largest box on the table, and that is City of Gears, which is upcoming. This is a prototype, not pre-production version.
Yes.
So that the components aren't quite final here.
Nowhere close, and we're expecting the components on this one to really dazzle people. So the final version of this is going to really wow. Even now, I think it actually has some pretty good table presence, as we'll show you through.
Excellent. Well, tell us about it.
So City of Gears is a game where you are discovering a steampunk city. It's an area control game at its heart. Resource management. You are trying to be the best developer of this wondrous City of Gears. On your turn, at the start of your turn, you're going to roll these wonderful resource dice. Just chuck them on the table. You have different results you can get. We could get potentially a gear.
Yep.
I'll explain that in a second. Steam and a lightning bolt.
Okay.
Gears lets you draw from this wonderful bag o' gears. You can use gears as one of 2 things. You can either use them as a development, so a special power. So this one would say, I could turn in a lightning bolt to get 2 steam.
Okay.
I could keep this as a gear power for the rest of the game. There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
So that's one thing you could do. The alternate thing you could do is start building pathways into the city, because as mentioned, area control is a big part of the game.
Right.
So this can flip over, and in the final production version, this will slot right in. These will be die cut out.
Interesting.
Now notice we have all of these lovely face-down city tiles.
Yes.
The trick with this one is there are 27 in the Kickstarter edition, I believe 21 in the retail. You only play with 9 each game. So you're uncovering a new city, and each city is truly...
You really don't know what you're going to get.
...going to be unique.
Okay.
So that's Gear Link. I chose to build right there. I could then use a steam to move one of my workers, and these will be robots in the final version, nice little robot eeples.
Ooh.
Send them out into the city. Whenever I land on a new city, I'm going to get this prestige marker.
Nice.
That's worth 2 points at the end of the game.
You're the one that discovered it.
I discovered it. It's very prestigious to do so.
Yep.
And then I'm going to flip it into play. So we found the rapid redistributor. So that's a tile we've discovered in this context. As we build, as the game goes on, we might discover and build more gear links. Let's see what might be over here. We might have found a gear foundry. So let's say this was the case and I was able to get a worker to this location on the board.
Yeah.
I've rolled my dice for the turn. I can then choose to activate these tiles. So this tile, if I have a worker on it and I spend a steam, I can do this ability. So this one says I can draw 2 gears from the bag and choose to keep one as either a new gear link or as a development.
Got it.
Then I'll get link bonuses. So because these are connected, I'll also get a little bonus that's listed up here. So in this case, that's 1 point. So when I activate this tile, I'll not only get this benefit, I'll get 1 point. As the game goes on, I'm going to be building longer and longer chains and potentially taking advantage of some pretty cool combos. Okay. Now here's the thing. Other players are doing this too.
Yeah, it seems like they might want to come in and do the stuff I'm doing.
Right, or might want to stop me from taking advantage of something pretty nice. So let's say we're going to compete. Me and Yellow are in a bit of a battle for this tile, let's say.
Yeah.
Let's say they really want the Gear Foundry. And I don't want them on here so much.
I don't want them on there either.
No, who would? So I could choose to spend a lightning bolt to destroy their worker. I can take their worker, zap it back to the factory. You're gone. So now they're wiped off the board.
And these are robots. They don't feel pain.
Right, they're fine. Yeah, yeah. I mean, do androids feel? I don't know.
Do they dream of electric sheep?
Yeah,
really
I'm not sure.
Question.
If I spend 2 lightning bolts, I really don't want them on here. I can destroy their gear link. Knock it out of the game.
Okay.
So, the game's going to continue. It plays in basically 2 big, broader phases. The first phase is discovering the board. You'll only roll 3 of these dice. Once all of these are uncovered, we'll then start to roll 4 dice.
Okay.
So things ramp up a little bit. The combos ramp up a little bit, but so does the testiness, the battles back and forth in this game.
Yeah.
At that point, we're also going to add these opening day gears into the bag. Once these get drawn, these represent the end game timer. Once the 3rd one of the 4 is drawn, the game ends immediately.
Okay.
You're going to tally up points. So we'll look for area control. For instance, at the end of the game, I would control this tile, so I'd get 4 prestige, and I'd get 4 prestige here because the gear links count towards possession as well. Right. Any ties are broken by gear links. That's really the game.
Yeah.
The combos are really cool. The variability of the tiles is really cool. Again, you're uncovering your very own city each game.
Yep.
And it does a lot of really interesting things, especially with these gears.
Yeah. Are 2 colors allowed to coexist until someone attacks, or do you have to fight each other off immediately?
Can totally coexist. You can choose to be peaceful. You can choose not to use lightning bolts. But and at the end of the game, you're going to want control of that space. You don't want someone else in there, and you might not want them activating things. You might want to mess with their gear links, mix things around a little bit. So you can coexist, but you probably don't want to.
Okay. So how soon will we get to see City of Gears?
So we're planning to have production demos of this at Gen Con. We won't be able to sell it quite yet at Gen Con. We want to make sure our Kickstarter backers have this before anyone else. We want to make sure they're taken care of. But we plan to have a production copy available for demo for City of Gears. So if you want to see the full version of this with the robots, with the die-cut boards, with the full gears, we're expecting to have that one available, and we're very proud of it, very excited about this game.
So I'm going to start pushing this to the side. We're going to start talking about Bushido, which is a two-player combat game.
Yes, this is a primarily two-player. You can play four-player with a couple of sets.
Okay.
But at its core, it's a two-player game. This is a dueling game. And again, as folks can see, this is a prototype, not finished yet. We're nearly done with this one. City of Gears is at the printer already. This is just about there.
Okay.
So, Bushido is a game where you are trying to beat each other up with swords.
Sure, why not?
That's the gist of it. It's a samurai dueling game.
Who cares why?
Who cares why? I don't know. Maybe you didn't give me enough time during this segment.
Maybe you ate my lunch out of the company freezer.
Maybe I overcharged you for Rising 5.
Maybe.
You never know. It could be any number of things. So in Bushido, we are going to be using these technique cards to try and get our opponent from 12 hit points down to 0 hit points.
Okay.
First person who's able to do that is going to win the game.
Sounds good.
The game itself starts off with a draft, so we will put out 4 cards. Notice they're from different schools. So, for instance, in this draft, we would have had a Water School card, a Shadow School card, an Earth School card, and a Basic card. It helps supplement things.
Okay.
The other way you're going to read these cards is this is the dice pool that they'll provide you when you play them on your turn. And you'll get some other effect.
Okay.
So, this will get me, if I were to play this card, 3 red dice in addition to some other things. How the draft works is I'll pick 1, you'll pick 1, we discard the other 2, then you'd pick 1, I'd pick 1, we discard the other 2. We do that until we have 5 cards each.
Okay.
Once we have 5 technique cards, we're almost ready to fight. But we're not going to just beat each other up with fists. This isn't boxing, right?
Right, no.
No, this is a samurai duel to the death.
We need weapons.
We need weapons, and we have weapons. We got katana, we've got a Jumanji-ari, we've got a Tinbei Roshan, we've got a Notsuchi, giant hammer, we've got a boat oar, the Ekibo. This is with the expansion weapons included. Base game has 6. The expansion adds another 4.
Okay.
So these are weapons we could potentially bring to the fight. Let's say I picked for this battle. I picked the Tetsubo. Let's go with the Tetsubo.
Okay.
And I'll turn it this way so folks at home can see.
Sure.
So
and is that a draft as well?
It is not a draft as well. We each have our own unique set of these. With all 10 weapons included, you'll draw 3 and choose 1 to bring to the fight.
Okay.
So, and we'll reveal these simultaneously, so you won't know what your opponent's trying to come at you with. But these will pair well with certain styles, as you might imagine.
Right. You don't want to bring a giant hammer to a knife fight.
Exactly right. Okay. And if your technique cards are very good at dodging or being light and nimble, you don't want a giant hammer either. That thing's going to weigh you down.
Gotcha.
So we've revealed these. You'll get a certain number of armor tokens at the start of the game, just like so. Armor tokens are ways you're going to reduce hits. So how this will work, let's run through kind of a sample turn.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to play Furious Charge. Furious Charge is going to get me a Tori token. These are used to trigger some technique effects. For instance, this one would give you additional dodge ability, this Distracting Smoke card.
Okay.
Additionally, you can spend them for rerolls. Rerolls are very valuable in this game because you need the dice to come up your way.
Sure.
We'll put this over here for now. Any tokens I acquire on a turn, I don't get until the end of the turn.
Gotcha.
We're now going to go across. So 3 red dice, got that, no problem. I'm in high guard, so whatever guard you're in determines what additional dice you'll add on top of that.
Okay.
In high guard, that's 2 more red dice. I want to be offensive on this turn.
Sure,
I want to go for it. And then I'll look for any weapon effects that apply. In this case, my weapon says, in high guard, once per turn, if I use this for a reroll, I deal a damage. We're not going to worry too much about that. We're just going to chuck these dice and see what happens. That's a pretty decent roll. So each of these represents a strike or a hit. And I'll demonstrate on my board, or on this board. That would be 3 hits coming my opponent's way. Notice the hits correspond to damage. So 1 hit, 1 damage, 2 hits, 3 damage, 3 hits, 6 damage, 4, 10, 5, insta-kill.
Wow.
So these stack up really fast.
Yeah. So the other player would not want to let that stand.
And they will not. So let's reverse the roles a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Let's pretend I had 3 hits coming my way.
Gotcha.
On my turn, I have some ways of defending against that. I could choose to play a technique card that gets me more of these blue dice. Blue dice have dodge effects on them. So if I roll a dodge, I can reduce that hit immediately.
Sounds good.
If I roll a shield, so these gray dice tend to be armor dice. If I roll a shield on this, that's going to be defense for later. Yeah. So I will get that armor token, but I can't use it this turn. I can, however, spend armor tokens I've previously acquired to reduce hits. Sure. So that would be a way I would avoid all damage. There's one other little trick with these dice, and that is if you roll this. This is a Tori symbol.
Yeah.
You can either do it to take one of these wonderful tokens to be used for rerolls or special abilities, or I can choose to strike. I can choose to go for broke. Add a die to the pool, roll both, see what happens. If I were to roll 2 more Tori off of that, I could choose to explode and keep on going.
Exploding Tori.
Exploding Tori, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
I didn't roll very well that time. It happens.
You started out so well.
You never know what's going to happen with this. We also have some expansion dice for this. These are green dice. They come in the Rising Rage expansion. These will get you Rage. Rage can be used, you can throw it into the pool to get an extra red die.
Yeah.
So you can build those up and really come in for a big swing. Okay. As you can tell based on this track, big swings are valuable than little dinky hits.
Well, sure. Yeah. How long does this game usually take, one match?
So drafting, if folks know what they're doing, 5 to 10 minutes, no more than that.
Yeah.
And then a full game from there, maybe 15, 20 minutes, but it depends on what kind of decks you built.
Yeah.
You might have built a go for broke fire deck that you're just going to try and slam someone with hits and knock them out of the match very fast, while maybe leaving yourself a little vulnerable. Or you might play a more defensive, dodgy game where you're going to try and chip away and dink and dunk and eventually nickel and dime them down to 0 health.
Yeah. Is it typically a single battle, or do you do like a best out of 3?
I think best out of 3 is the way I've seen a lot of people do it. That tends to be the way people go. It plays fast enough that works pretty well.
Perfect. So Bushido, is that on a similar time frame to City of Gears?
Fairly similar time frame. I don't know if we'll be able to have production demos at Gen Con, but certainly in time for Essen, that game will be ready, and definitely PAX Unplugged. We should have that out sooner rather than later, but that's about the timeline we're working on for that one.
So that is Bushido. We have 2 more to talk about. You want to talk about the one that's available now?
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Available now for people who like purchasing things. This is Rising 5. Eric, you can tell them about Rising 5 if you wanted to.
I actually just played this yesterday. Rising 5 is a cooperative game. It's a deduction game,
right?
In which you are ultimately trying to solve a puzzle that involves constellations being mapped to colors, and then those colors are in a cross pattern on the board.
Right.
And you have to figure out what orientation those colors are, which colors are in the pattern, and what positions they're in.
Sure.
But the clues you get are related to the constellations. So part of it is having to map the constellations to the colors, and then figure out what colors are in the puzzle. And then you do all of this by activating characters on the board with special abilities and moving the puzzle around and getting clues and defeating bad guys, because there's this timer. The more you draw cards, the more the bad stuff may happen, and the more bad guys that are on the board, the more nasty those bad cards are. And then working together to activate all these characters. What'd I miss?
You do my job for me. I love it. It's a blend of Pandemic and Mastermind. It's cooperative and blends that puzzly element. Yeah. I hear there's someone with a dice tower who really, really likes this game. Maybe
I think his
name rhymes with ham.
So there's the back of the box. I did buy this. I think I'm going to play it with my kids. I think it's going to be a big hit with them. But this is now currently available, correct?
Yes. Yeah, you can go by our booth here at Origins. You can find it at your friendly local game store, Amazon, wherever fine games are sold.
Yes.
You can find this game. It has a lovely app, a free app for both Apple and Android that you can get for it.
Right.
That helps run the game. Even if you don't like apps, you can run it without the app. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it is a possibility.
How does it work if you don't? Because usually with the app, you sort of hold it over and scan those 4 symbols.
Sure.
And that tells you, how many are correct and various mastermind-like things about the puzzle. How would you do that without the app?
So it has enough pieces to where you have one player who serves as the app.
Gotcha.
They will secretly set the puzzle and then give you clues as you make guesses at the puzzle.
Okay.
So it's one person who doesn't necessarily play.
Right.
They sit back and manage the puzzle.
It can be run by a moderator, basically.
Effectively, yes.
Right. So that is Rising 5. So last but not least, another upcoming title that we want to talk about.
Yes.
And this one looks like it's even farther away.
This one's a little ways away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Zoned Out.
Okay.
This is in our imprint. So we launched an imprint brand fairly recently.
Yeah.
Called Social Sloth Games. Slow down, have fun.
Okay.
That's the gist of it.
Sounds good.
Our first game in that line is a game called Creatures and Cupcakes, which we have for demo here at Origins.
Yep.
That's a game designed by Daryl Andrews and Adrian Adamescu, same designers as Sagrada.
Yeah.
It's a push your luck game where you're pulling cupcakes out of a bag and moving wonderful little creatures on a track. Zoned Out is the next game that we have coming in that line. Okay. Zoned Out is a city building game is the best way I can describe it. I'm going to pull out a card or two.
Let's show some pieces here. Let's get those dice out of the way. Those are dangerous.
All right, Bushido's in the past, right? So let's show these cards. So you're going to have a handful of these cards, and you're going to play them. And there are things like sports stadiums, commercial districts, residential districts.
Table
yeah, let's build them out as they might be in a game.
So you're layering them out.
You're layering them. You're trying to build zones. You're trying to connect them. So that's a nice little zone right there. They scale up triangularly. So this is 1 point. This would be 2 points, and this would be 3 points and 6 points.
Right.
And so on and so forth. So you're trying to, on your turn, you're going to play one of these cards and either extend your zone or move and start a new zone.
Okay.
There's a tower in the center that we're going to be adding pieces to. You're fighting for area control in that tower. You're also trying to build these out in a way where you're going to get bonus points for things attached. So for instance, if I controlled this zone, zoned out of it, and scored it, I would get plus 3 points for being next to this lovely mansion and this lovely park, and I'd lose 2 points for being next to this decrepit old haunted place that no one's super interested in.
Sure.
There are certain endgame scoring cards that might tell me I want to build in smaller districts, or might want to build in commercial districts, or industrial districts, or residential districts, and you're going to try and follow those goals and do your best to succeed.
So we're building a communal map.
Yes.
Are we then claiming as a separate action these areas, or are we claiming as we build?
So let's show it as we work. So let's say I was in this zone previously.
Yeah.
And I can't extend it or don't want to extend it. I would then play this. This is a nice one. It's connected to this. I can jump to this zone. I could have played this card way over here, but I want to play it here. I want to extend this zone. I jump out of this, and then I am going to show that I have possession of that area. Put 2 discs there, and 2 discs there. No one else can build in that zone, and I'll score for it. So in this case, I'd score 3 points because I have 2 areas, and then plus 1. I'd add a tower to the center where the quadrant is set up there, and then I now am working on this zone.
Okay.
These discs represent your timer in the game. So once one player runs out of these, it's over, kind of Ticket to Ride style.
All right.
That doesn't necessarily mean they win. You're going to have these lovely bonus points. The areas might get you different things. Yep, hidden scoring. And the hidden scoring works in an interesting way. I know what this hidden scoring is, but it applies to everyone.
Oh. So you can play toward it, so have the least number of yellow spaces.
Right.
But you can play toward that, but someone else could take it as well.
Yes. Yeah, and for instance, some are 1 point per, so it's not most, it's just 1 point per all of those you have. So in that situation, for instance, this is 1 point per development block in light residential zones. So we're looking for these 1-level pink zones.
Gotcha.
So you want as many blocks of that controlled as possible because that'll get you points at the end of the game.
So I see you building a bunch of pink zones and go,
that might be worth something.
Interesting. That might be something I want to work toward too.
Or it might just be something that's in their hand that they can extend out and build a nice big beefy zone.
It might just be convenient to play pink cards right now.
The cool thing about this is you can cut people off, right? So I know this person's trying to extend here. I might say, I'm going to make that a little harder for you.
Right.
And build next to their zone. You can't build in another player's zone, but you can certainly make it harder for them to operate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's Zoned Out, coming from Social Sloth Games. Later this year, we don't have an exact time for the Kickstarter launch. It's still in development.
Okay, so the Kickstarter has not yet happened for this one.
Yes.
It should be upcoming soon. Upcoming
soon, and we're hoping to obviously do a nice, big, beefy production with this one.
All right. Well, that is a lot to process, and it's going to be a lot to pack up, too.
Yes.
Alex from Gray Fox Games, thank you very much for spending some time with us. Thank you for spending some time with us. More on the way from Origins from the Dice Tower.